Listening, fill in the blanks.
Let's start.
How an international team of chimpanzee experts conducted the most comprehensive survey of the animals ever attempted. Scientists have been investigating chimpanzee culture for several decades, but too often their studies contained a crucial flaw. Most attempts to document cultural diversity among chimpanzees have relied solely on officially published accounts of the behaviors recorded at each research site. But this approach probably overlooks a good deal of cultural variation for 3 reasons. Capital English Zone.
Britain, always a little suspicious of continental trends, had yet to become the nation of tea drinkers that it is today. Starting in 1600, the British East India Company had a monopoly on importing goods from outside Europe, and it is likely that sailors on these ships brought tea home as gifts. The first coffee house had been established in London in 1652, and tea was still somewhat unfamiliar to most readers, so it is fair to assume that the drink was still something of a curiosity. Gradually, it became a popular drink in coffee houses, which were as many locations for the transaction of business as they were for relaxation or pleasure.
Birds have many unique design features that enable them to perform such amazing feats of endurance. They are equipped with lightweight, hollow bones, intricately designed feathers providing both lift and thrust for rapid flight, navigation systems superior to any that man has developed, and an ingenious heat-conserving design that, among other things, concentrates all blood circulation beneath layers of warm, waterproof plumage, leaving them fit to face life in the harshest of climates. Their respiratory systems have to perform efficiently during sustained flights at altitude, so they have a system of extracting oxygen from their lungs that far exceeds that of any other animal.
While the Japanese have made huge strides in solving some of the engineering problems of human kinetics and bipedal movements, for the past 10 years scientists at MIT's former Artificial Intelligence Lab, recently renamed the Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, CSAL, have been making robots that can behave like humans and interact with humans. One of MIT's robots, Kismet, is an anthropomorphic head and has 2 eyes, complete with eyelids, ears, a mouth, and eyebrows. It has several facial expressions, including happy, sad, frightened and disgusted. Human interlocutors are able to read some of the robot's facial expressions, and often change their behavior towards the machine as a result, for example, playing with it when it appears sad. Kismet is now in MIT's museum, but the ideas developed here continue to be explored in new robots.
Watching infants piece life together, seeing their senses, emotions and motor skills take shape, is a source of mystery and endless fascination, at least to parents and developmental psychologists. We can decode their signals of distress or read a million messages into their first smile. But how much do we really know about what's going on behind those wide, innocent eyes? How much of their understanding of and response to the world comes preloaded at birth? How much is built from scratch by experience? Such are the questions being explored at Baby Lab, though the facility is just 18 months old and has tested only 100 infants. It's already challenging current thinking on what babies know and how they come to know it.
To find the origins of laughter, Provine believes we need to look at play. He points out that the masters of laughing are children, and nowhere is their talent more obvious than in the boisterous antics, and the original context is play. Well-known primate watchers, including Dian Fossey and Jane Goodall, have long argued that chimps laugh while at play. The sound they produce is known as a pant laugh. It seems obvious when you watch their behavior, they even have the same ticklish spots as we do. But after removing the context, the parallel between human laughter and a chimp's characteristic pant laugh is not so clear. When Provine played a tape of the pant laughs to 119 of his students, for example, only 2 guessed correctly what it was. We'll never know which animal laughed the first laugh, or why, but we can be sure we'll never know which animal laughed the first laugh, or why. But we can be sure it wasn't in response to a prehistoric joke. The funny thing is that while the origins of laughter are probably quite serious, we owe human laughter and our language-based humor to the same unique skill. While other animals pant, we alone can control our breath well enough to produce the sound of laughter. Without that control, there would also be no speech times and no jokes to endure.
Once they figured put the taster mechanism, scientists began to think of ways to interfere with it. They tried AMP, an organic compound found in breast milk and other substances, which is created. Assels break down food. AMP has no bitterness of its own. But when put it in foods, Margolski and his colleagues discovered, it attaches to bitter taste receptors. As effective as it is, AMP may not be able to dampen every type PF bitter taste, because it probably doesn't attach to all 30 bitter taste receptors. So Lingwagen has scaled up the hunt for other bitter blockers with a technology called high-throughput screening. Researchers start by coaxing cells in culture to activate bitter taste receptors, then candidate substances, culled from chemical compound libraries, are dropped onto the receptors, and scientists look for evidence of a reaction.
The genetic theory is also undermined by results from Peter Hepper and his team at Queen's University in Belfast, Ireland. In 2004, the psychologists used ultrasound to show that by the 15th week of pregnancy, fetuses already have a preference as to which thumb they suck. In most cases, the preference continued after birth. At 15 weeks, though, the brain does not yet have control over the body's limbs. Hepper speculates that fetuses tend to prefer whichever side of the body is developing quicker, and that their movements, in turn, influence the brain's development. Whether this early preference is temporary or holds up throughout development and infancy is unknown. Genetic predetermination is also contradicted by the widespread observation that children do not settle on either their right or left hand until they are 2 or 3 years old.
Bovids are well represented in most parts of Eurasia and Southeast Asian islands, but they are by far the most numerous and diverse. In the latter, some species of bovid are solitary, but others live in large groups with complex social structures. Although bovids have adapted to a wide range of habitats, from Arctic tundra to deep tropical forest, the majority of species favor open grassland, scrub, or desert. This diversity of habitat is also matched by great diversity in size and form. At one extreme is the royal antelope of West Africa, which stands a mere 25 centimeters at the shoulder. At the other, The massively built bison of North America and Europe, growing to a shoulder height of 2.2 m.
Like, share, subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for further updates.